Hey everyone, this is John Tiskowski with SmartPM. Just wanted to thank you all for attending today. We're going to give it a few more minutes, let some other folks join in. So just please hold. We'll begin momentarily here. All right, thanks again everyone for joining. We'll give it a few more minutes here. It is the top of the hour, so I'm sure there's some folks still trying to log in. And then we'll get started probably in about a minute or two after the hour here. And for those of you just joining, yes, we will be recording this session so that we can make this available for you later on today, tomorrow, whenever you need to access it. We'll post it on our YouTube channel, SmartPM Technology YouTube channel, so you can access any of the content here afterwards. So if you can't attend for the entire time, feel free to access it later on. And also, we'll be using the chat feature today. If you can submit questions via the chat, we will try to answer them in the allotted time. If we need to take things offline and reach out to you directly, we'll reach out to you directly after today's session to answer any questions that we don't get to. All right, well, let's get started, everyone. Thanks for joining today. This is John Tiskowski with SmartPM and Billy Upchurch. We're happy to be with you guys today. Thanks for joining us from all the different parts of the US. I think we've got some people in here from the East Coast and West Coast and central areas. So glad to have everyone on today. We're going to be talking through some of the newer features that we just released in SmartPM. As well as kind of recapping maybe some of the features that we just released in June and July timeframe, as well as giving you a brief sneak peek at what's coming up with SmartPM and some of the features to look forward to in the coming months. And we'll do a demo of some of the newer features. Today, we're going to focus on the exporting of files back into Primavera XCR and Microsoft MPP files. We'll talk about the calendar audit log, change flagging, and some in-product tutorials that we've been working on to make that user experience a little bit better and a little bit more intuitive for you. So as I mentioned, John Tuskowski here with SmartPM, VP of Customer Success. Hopefully you've all heard my name or have heard of Billy Upchurch's name and have worked with Billy or myself. In case you haven't, we do have a support email where you can reach us at support@smartpmtech.com, and our customer service number in case you do have any questions. We're always willing and able to answer questions for you, help you out with anything that you need to understand the tool better, help you understand how to navigate the system. So feel free to reach out to us if you do have any questions. We're there to help. So just wanted to cover very quickly a couple of the recent features that we've added to SmartPM in case you missed the last session. But in June and July, we added a number of capabilities and functions to SmartPM, including the ability to re-baseline. That's one of the more popular features, I would say, that we've seen users take advantage of, and that's an automatic re-baseline feature that's available in the Schedules tab in the analysis, or in the project dashboard, I should say. We do have, I think, our prior Lunch and Learn covered these capabilities here, and so if you are interested in any of those, that video should be posted on our YouTube page. So the rebaseline is a very popular one. We do also have the ability to do, instead of a letter grade that pretty much everyone has been familiarized with on the schedule quality, we have the ability to toggle that between just a color indicator as well. So we know that a lot of people, have some issues with the letters that they're receiving or the grades that they're receiving. They don't necessarily want to print that out for everybody to see. So we can make it a red, yellow, or green indicator as well. That's something that we can do on a one-off basis for you. So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to us. TIA scenario creations. These are conditions that can be applied if you are familiar with the conditions tab in SmartPM. There were previously 4 different rule sets available for you. The reject rules, the revert, the bulk change, and the one-off. To that, we've added this TIA scenario condition rule set where you can actually go in, drop in a TIA, link it to the activities in the schedule that are appropriate, and see how the analysis reacts. So that's another very interesting condition that we've added, and a very interesting feature that we've added that a lot of people are taking advantage of. Last but not least, more recently, we added some enhanced SSO capabilities. That's single sign-on, just to make the user experience a little bit smoother. So if you're interested in the SSO functionality, reach out to us. We work with our CTO on tailoring that to your specific organization. So that would be something that probably we should talk about on a one-off basis if you're interested in doing that. So today we're going to focus on the export, the audit log, the calendar audit log, the flagging, and the in-product tutorials. I do also want to mention a couple other announcements. This coming Monday, we're going to be launching a LinkedIn community site page for our customers so that you can collaborate with other users. It's a way to maintain contact with us, to gain feedback as to what's working, what's not working, but mainly to bring our user groups together so that you can share information, you can work together. It'll be a nice way to kind of share ideas and feedback for us. And then last but not least, I do want to announce that we will be participating in the Procore Groundbreak, which I believe is in the next coming week, or next week and a half, 2 weeks. So if you are attending Procore Groundbreak virtually, like many people will be participating virtually, please visit our group, our team that's going to be presenting. We've got, I think, 4 separate sessions set up, 4 15-minute sessions set up, and covering not only our product, but some of our customers and the like. So it'll be a great way to connect with us if you're going to Procore Groundbreak. Wanted to give you a quick teaser too as some of the things that are coming soon to SmartPM before we dive into the demos. The first one is this add, delete, and replace a schedule, which is currently in testing. This is something that I know a lot of you have been asking for, have been telling us that you want to have. Currently, the way it's set up in SmartPM, you can't go in and delete a schedule that you might have imported accidentally. Likewise, you can't go replace a schedule in there or add a schedule in between the most recent data date that you have in there. So we've been working on ways to add, delete, and replace schedules within that environment, and that should be coming out within the next 4 weeks, I'd say, maybe sooner than that. So that's something to look forward to, and we'll probably do another lunch and learn after that so that everyone is aware of how to use that function and capability. The other thing that we've been working on is some enhancements to our dashboard. Right now, this is in concept development. We've been exploring ways based on the feedback that we receive from our users and customers here on how to enhance the metrics and understanding the metrics on the dashboard, make it a little bit more intuitive, maybe increase the user functionality within the dashboard as well. So we're exploring ways to enhance the dashboard. If you do have feedback on that, things that you'd like to see, I'd suggest using the feedback loop within the product under our resources to send us information and to send us commentary on what you might find interesting on the dashboard. So that is in our concept phases. We've been talking with a number of key super users within our customer base, getting their ideas and trying to consolidate that all to make it a little bit more intuitive, make that dashboard a little bit easier to understand. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Billy, who's going to take us through the demo of the new features that we're going to cover today.
Awesome, thanks, John. I'm going to take control. I think I can do that. Perfect. Let's see here, and let me get the video up. Cool. So yeah, as John mentioned, we'll be stepping through some new features today. What we'll do is I'm going to play this video here that I've produced over the past week, and hopefully show you guys not only the new features but ways to use them, why they're important, and show you different views you can gain of your project in SmartPM. We do have the question section here. Looks like we already have a few questions. So if you guys want to fill out the question section as this video goes, we'll definitely spend some time at the end to answer them. And once again, as John mentioned, if we run out of time, we'll definitely reach out to each one of you individually and make sure your question's covered. So John, is the video looking pretty good right now? Just up on the screen?
I can see it, yep.
Perfect. All right, I'm gonna click play here, and I hope this is helpful. And like I said, we'll answer questions after the video. Hey, and welcome to the Fall 2020 SmartPM New Feature Spotlight. Today we'll be going through all the new features that the SmartPM development team has been hard at work at getting into the software for our customers to analyze their projects at a deeper, more meaningful level. Those features we're going to go over today are going to be the calendar audit log, key schedule change flagging, native schedule export to either XCR or MPP out of SmartPM, historical weather modeling, standalone summary schedule report, and video tutorials. We'll also go over ways to use these new features to help kind of put them into perspective on how you, the customer, can use them in your analysis every day. The first feature we'll cover is one of the newer features in SmartPM. It's the calendar audit log. So what we've set up in SmartPM is similar to schedule change log, where it's picking up on changes from update to update, logic ties, activity, additions, deletions. But this audit log is looking within the calendars, within the schedule, to identify any changes or oddities. As a basis, there's four main parts to scheduling, four main tenets. There's the activities themselves, their durations, their logic ties, and the often forgot about piece is the calendar. So let's go take a look and see what this new audit log looks like in SmartPM. I'm going to scroll down, and I've got two projects set up here in this demo site, calendar example 1 and calendar example 2. I'll click into calendar example 1, and I'm going to head to the analysis tab. And then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find the calendar tab under changes. We'll see that there's 4 main columns in here that are going to give you different pieces of information from schedule update to schedule update. The first column, calendar changes, is going to let you know when calendars are added or deleted, or when there's changes to a calendar's time period. The next column over is working day changes. This will register when a day is switched from non-working to working and vice versa. And then it'll also let you know when work hours on a single day is changed. The next column is hour per day conflicts. This is going to record when a day's work hour, so a specific day within a calendar, does not match the calendar's default work hours. So for instance, if a calendar is set to an 8-hour workday as a default and you have a one-off day that lists a 12-hour workday, SmartPM will pick up on that and alert you to it. The final column, and this may be pretty apropos in the times we're living in, extended days off. This will itemize anytime there are 7 or more consecutive non-working days in a calendar. Let's click into a few of these and get a sense for what SmartPM is producing. I'll click on this 11 here under calendar changes, and I can see all the different types of calendars that have been added to this project. I can see that some 7-day calendars have been added with some numbers next to them. So I might want to go investigate and see where these calendars are being added and what activities they're being added to. Let's go take a look at the extended days off. I'll click on this one right here, and I can see that within my UC Saturday Sunday calendar, it appears that they are going to just take off, looks like the full November break. So 9 days in a row, moving from November 22nd all the way through December 1st. So I can identify when activities on the UC Saturday Sunday calendar are not going to be active. Hour day conflicts, let's work backwards. I'll click on the 23 here, and I'm able to see examples of when days do not correspond with the default calendar hours. So November 13th, 2017 is set to a 10-day workday. However, the calendar default is at an 8-day workday. And I can also see, yeah, this makes sense actually. The 5-day double shifts, we've got every day in here, Monday through Friday, is set to 16 hours, where the calendar is actually set to 8 hours. So you can scroll through here, understand the differences per days. You know, Saturday onlys, I can see that each looks like they're going through and every Saturday adding in 8 hours here into their calendar. So you're able to keep an eye on all this. Let's go look at another example in calendar audit example 2. This is a less in-your-face example, I guess. You don't see those huge numbers that we see in that one example that I handpicked to take a look at. I'll go over here to our calendar tab and take a look at this project's calendar log. So I'll scroll down. I find it interesting that there's 4 working day changes here with no other changes happening to calendars. So let's click on that and take a look at what's going on. Okay, I can see that we have our 5-day calendar. It looks like, okay, they're making changes on Christmas. So I guess in older calendars, Christmas was not a holiday. You can see that they're updating the working time from 8 to 0 days. The holiday function has gone from false to true. So now we can see that, okay, what they did was in history, December 25th, 2018 was a working day. And they went in this particular calendar and changed it to a holiday. So maybe a conversation can be had about that. Hey guys, are all the holidays called out in there? We want to make sure we're not planning to work on days where there's not going to be any personnel on site. All of this is exportable to Excel, just like many of our other analysis tabs. And I can just click that button there, and it's going to generate an Excel file for me. There it is, and I can use that in my day-to-day. For more information on the calendars, go to our Resources tab and navigate over to our Help Desk. Search for Calendar Audit, and it'll pop up there at the top. I'll click on that, and we've written, a good blog post about the calendar audit log. It's going to remind you what it does, what it's looking for, and it's also going to give you a little bit more information on why these things are important to keep track of, what a time period is, what a weekly hour is, what daily hours are. It's also going to give you an example of why you want to keep keep an eye on this. So how the weekly hours and durations of activities play with each other in scheduling, and maybe we can take a look at that right now, just live, while we've got everybody here. So let's say we have this kind of crude example. We've got activity number one. It's a 4-day activity. So the time period on a calendar is set to 8 hours per day. What that's going to say is that essentially this activity has 32 hours worth of work. So 4 days of duration in this calendar equals 32 hours, 4 times 8, if that makes sense. So the way it'll get scheduled out is that 8 hours per day in the weekly hour. So every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's 8 hours available. So this 32-hour activity is going to take up 4 days, 1 through 8, 9 through 16. So 8 hours per day, 4 days duration. This thing is going to be scheduled Monday through Thursday. Now let's take an example where we have that same activity number one, 4 days of duration. The time period in the calendar that is assigned to it is 8 hours per day. So we still have 32 total hours to accomplish to get activity one complete. However, the weekly hours in this case have been switched to 4 hours per day. So we're working half-day shifts on this activity. Your scheduling platform, regardless if it's Primavera, Microsoft Project, is going to take a look at that and say, okay, well, every day is only 4 hours, so this is actually going to take us all the way until Wednesday of week 2 to accomplish those 32 hours, given that Saturday and Sunday are non-working days. So we can see those 32 hours of duration here in activity 1 is being worked on at a 4-hour clip every day. So we can see how that over time pushes out the finish date of this activity. In another example, let's say that we have an 8 hours per day, right? It's the same situation as the one previously. 8 hours per day time period, 4 days duration, so 32 total hours again. We're going to keep that 4 hours per day, but Tuesday of week 1 was actually specifically altered, and the scheduler went in on this particular Tuesday and increased it to a 12-hour working day. So every other day in our calendar is that 4 hours per day clip, but on Tuesday was specifically altered to 12 hours, which is actually going to bring our finish date into Monday here. So it's all just a factor of the amount of hours within each activity, which is actually how these scheduling platforms keep track. It's not really a day calculation, it's an hourly calculation, and that's how it's scheduling out. So taking that and extrapolating out those hours of duration across the calendar and however the calendar is set up underneath is where that finish date's going to end. This same example here, you can go view this out there on the help desk, and of course all of us here at SmartPM in the customer success department are more than happy to jump on a call and help walk through this a little bit more. It is important to note SmartPM does schedule by the whole day, does not schedule by the hour. That's just the way the scheduling engine is set up. So you just keep that in mind. This is something for you to just double check the native schedule files coming in and to keep an eye on that as an analyst. So let's move on to some more features here. What we'll do now is combine two of the new features into one analysis to show you a workflow in SmartPM, how you can utilize flagging key schedule changes, implementing them in our scenario feature, and then exporting native schedule files to either XCR or MPP that contain the data modeling that we put together here, utilizing the flag changes and then maybe a revert or a reject in the scenario. So what we'll do is we're going to click into the academic project here at the top. And what I'm going to do is scroll to the bottom, and I'm just going to open up the Gantt chart view directly here from my schedules tab. So clicking on that last link down there is going to take me into the Gantt chart view. It's going to take me to my latest schedule update. I have my organize on, so I've got my WBS structure set up. I like to open up this window so I can uncover some more of the information in the Gantt chart view. And then I like to sort by end date. Some people like to sort by start date. I'm an end date guy. Big debate in scheduling. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up my WBS structure here and collapse it. And what I want to do right now is analyze the critical path, the historical critical path that we see to the left of the data date. So everything to the left of the data date. I just want to know, what's my data telling me? What have the schedules I've imported? What are they telling me? And maybe I can make some decisions to help smooth out the data and get a more accurate analysis. So I'm going to open it up here a little bit, decollapse it to the second level. And you can trace the historical critical path now. We can see it was moving in through site preparation, down into foundations. All that seems correct. What's interesting is that it does jump back up into critical submittal and long lead items. So I am interested about this period in time here in Q3. We can then see it dives back down into superstructure, maybe some finishing up of the foundations, and then into interior. So all that makes sense to me just from a general perspective, except for this period in time where we were through some middles. So I definitely want to put a note down to go take a look at that. And then what I always find interesting is when a historical critical path is leading into the data date here, and then it either disappears, which it did in this case, or it shifts into a wholly different section. So I'm going to put a note down too. There's two things I want to check right now: this period in time during the critical submittal period, and then also why this critical path here on my data date stopped, and then why is it actually shifting out of there. So we're going to go investigate both of those things right now. So what we'll do is let's start with the critical submittal and long lead item section up here. So I'll double click on that WBS structure and open up that section. And what I can see now is that we had this period of time here at the beginning of Q3 where elevator procurement was actually on my critical path. I can see that these striped red lines here indicate period of delay. So there was a delay to the start of this. It then became actualized and critical over time. And then what I find curious is that it does just stop, and it goes to near critical, and then it actually goes off of our near critical path. And this white box here, this white bar, indicates that there was no progress during that period. So let's go take a look at what happened with this elevator. I'm going to click on the activity itself. I'm going to open up my activity metrics tab. I'll scroll down here. I'm going to go to my activity change log, and I'm going to now be able to view the history of changes to this specific activity. So I've got two different changes. In June, it was changed from a 90-day plan to a 93-day plan, and then in August, up here at the top, when it was near critical, it was moved from 93 to 30. This is the change now that I can see that pulled it completely off of my near critical path, and it makes me wonder if this should have been a 30-day activity from the get-go. So what I'm going to do now is head back over to my project dashboard. I'm going to scroll up, and I'm going to go to my analysis tab. I'm going to flip it to the original scenario. So here from the scenario drop down, I can choose any of the track twos that I have already established, but I'm going to go to my original scenario, go to my change log, and I'm going to go find this August 26th schedule update where that change was made to the elevator. And I'm going to click on the total changes here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter for elevator. And I've got it right here. There's that change I saw, elevator procurement. It went from 93 days to 30 days. And I'm going to now use this new feature in SmartPM for significant change flagging. And I'm going to click on that flag right there. So now what I've done is I've marked that for myself as an important change when I go back and do this analysis in the future. This is something that I'm interested in and I may want to use later on. And I think in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a revert, and I'm going to revert that change, this 30-day this change to 30 days back to my baseline. So now I can rerun my analysis without elevator procurement jumping on the critical path. So I'll close this right here, and I'm going to head back into my Gantt chart. And now let's go take a look at this period in time where my critical path shifted off there at the data date. So let's go open up interior rough-ins. Looks like first floor rough-ins now. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm just tracing this critical path. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, and here we go. All right. So it looks like, and what I'll do just as a different, for a different look at it, I'm going to flip the standard and let's break this thing back out. Interior rough ends, first floor rough ends, and I'll scroll to the right here. So opening it all the way up, and here is that preliminary first floor drywall. So I can see that there was a delay to the start of this activity. It actually did get started on the 16th here. And as I continue to scroll across, we can see that right as it bumps into the data date, it does go not critical, which is interesting because usually your drywall is a critical item throughout any building. So if I scroll down and let's take a look at what happened here on this November update, November 20 or November 30th, scroll down and it looks like there were a handful of changes that were made in November. So if I'm highlighting them here, it was given a constraint date for whatever reason. It looks like a historical constraint date. But what's interesting is that the logic type was switched from finish to start to start to start with the flashing at windows. It was then given some sort of a lag, and some more lag was added into another logic tie. It was also given a logic tie to blocking its ceiling. So this is curious to me. What I then want to go do is say, all right, well, where is my critical path then? If all these changes in November happen and switch my critical path, I want to see where it is now. So let's fit to screen again so we can pull it back out. I'm going to turn on my filter and I'm going to do my complete critical path. So this will give me everything, right? Historical and future looking critical path. I'll actually turn my organize off so I can just see it straight. And it looks like what's interesting is then, yeah, we can now see that the preliminary drywall was leading into it. And now moving forward, the critical path is going to be through the main switch gears, which is giving me that space there. So let's go investigate that change as well just to see. It looks like it was given a constraint date here in December, December 2015. It was given that constraint, which is causing that critical path to break there. So that's what's happening. A combination of the changes to the preliminary drywall and that constraint being added for main switchgear. So what I'm going to do now is head back over to my changelog here in the project dashboard. I'm going to go to that November 30th update where these constraints were being made, where these preliminary drywall changes were being made, and I'm going to go to all changes here again and click that 70. And right there at the top, perfect, we have our preliminary drywall where these changes were made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flag these two. I'm going to go ahead and say let's keep an eye on these. I'm actually going to go make sure I grab all the changes to preliminary drywall by filtering for it here. So I'm going to flag all those changes. And then also what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look for that switchgear activity, and I'm going to reject this constraint. I don't like that constraint. I don't like gaps on my critical path. So I'm going to flag that so I can remember when I go into my scenarios tab, this is what I want to do. And we can hold, this duration seems fine. It's only 3 days. I'm not too worried about it. You don't want to get too manipulative or model too much out of the original schedule. So now I'll refresh the screen. And now I can go to my original and I can see where I have flag changes here in the flag change column. If I click on that 7, I can see the changes that have been flagged. Perfect. If I export the change log here, there will now be a tab at the bottom of my Excel file that has the flagged changes in there. So if I pull this up onto the screen and go to the right, I can see all those flagged changes. So this gives you, the analyst, the ability to flag changes and then take them to the site team here with this Excel file. So we'll minimize that, go back to SmartPM. Now for the second piece of this analysis. So I've gone through, I see my historical critical path. I flagged some changes that were causing the critical path to maybe go to places I didn't necessarily think were correct. And I'm going to go to scenario conditions, and we're going to start modeling the data so that we can produce a scenario and then eventually export out some files. So I'll go to create rule. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my revert rule here, and I'll click on revert, and I'm going to go to the August 26th update where we had that elevator change made from 90 to 30 days. And I'm going to now filter for my flag changes. And there we go, boom, elevator procurement. We can see I flagged it. and I'm going to revert this change back to my baseline. So what I'm saying is, hey, SmartPM, let's start off with elevator being 30 days instead of 93 days. And that's going to hopefully keep that off my critical path and allow my analysis to flow through the proper construction channels within the schedule. So I'll click next. I'm going to name this revert elevator duration, finish. So there we go. I've created that condition. Once again, didn't necessarily do anything within SmartPM analysis wise. All I've done is just put that tool in my toolbox for use later. So now I'll create my second rule. This one's going to be a reject, and I'm going to go to that last update where we had those changes made to the critical path. Once again, I'm going to filter for all my flag changes, and here we go. We can see there's my preliminary drywall changes. There's that constraint that got added to my main switchgear. I'm going to bulk select all of these. So now I've just grabbed them all. I'm going to reject all these changes, say, hey, SmartPM, create me an analysis in a world where these changes never existed. So I'm going to reject 1130 changes, and we'll click finish. So there we go. I've got these two rules now. I've reverted that elevator change. I'm rejecting those critical path changes on the latest update. Now I'm going to go to scenarios, and I'm going to create a new scenario, and I'm going to call this one critical path fix. I'll go ahead and select this to automatically update. We'll give it a description here. We're going to say modeled change data to fix critical path for analysis. I'm going to go ahead and select all my original schedule files. Let's do a full schedule analysis on this one. We could track to an activity from the screen, but let's do a full schedule analysis, and we'll click next. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and apply those conditions I created. So I'm going to apply my revert elevator condition and my reject changes condition here, and I'll click finish. I'll refresh my screen, scroll to the bottom, and we can see that that critical path fix is underway, and I will get an email when SmartPM is done with that analysis. And through the magic of video production, our critical path fix scenario has completed. I can see that my critical path delay and recovery is different in this case, so it looks like we have made some changes. What I'm going to do now is click on to my critical path link here, open up the Gantt chart view, and let's go take a look and see where our critical path ended up with these reverts and rejects that we've created. So same workflow. I'm going to turn on organize. I'm going to get that WBS structure up there. I'm going to sort by end date, and I'm going to collapse the whole project. We can scroll over, and there it looks like we've got that critical path fixed here right after the data date, so that's a great sign. I can now see that the critical path it no longer goes through critical submittal section. It is down here in superstructure where I want it. That makes a lot more sense. We can actually open it up even further and see that framing is now the critical item, which is what you would expect instead of elevator procurement during this period. And I can also see that looks like the interior rough ends is still our critical path moving forward after the data date, which is good to see too. That just makes a lot more sense from a workflow perspective than closing in the building and then eventually into site finishes. We may want to take another look at site finishes. Maybe that's an analysis for another day. But for right now, I like where we're at here. And what I can actually do now is head back over to my project dashboard. And now we can export these schedules out. So I can click view details on that critical path fix, and the export feature here will allow me to click on any one of these icons. And in this case, since we have a Primavera project, I'm going to click on that icon, and SmartPM is going to generate for me an XER file. So now I can actually take this XER file, give it to my scheduler, say, look, we saw the constraint that got put on the switchgear activity. I rejected that. Here's your new schedule file. Take a look at it, and let's see if we can incorporate this into the project overall. So, two new features in SmartPM that can work in tandem. This is a great combination. Once again, that export's going to give you that native schedule file, either XER or MPP, depending on the type of project you have imported. And it's going to give you that file with the changes that you've modeled via the scenario conditions. So if I were to export out, say, this baseline, I would then have that elevator activity that we reverted as a 30-day activity instead of that 90-day activity. So the changes you're making via conditions will be reflected in the exports. A great new tool. And let's move on to the next feature here. I think we're all familiar with the Pink report. It's that executive level report designed for OAC meetings or scheduling meetings. But if you're not familiar, I'll click back. I'm going to go to my analysis tab here, and I'm actually going to switch my scenario to the critical path fix scenario we just set up. So we've got our elevator and drywall fixes in place. Our critical path is nice and smooth. And I'm going to go down to the report section here. And we have our Pink report. I'll open this up and let's generate one real quick. I'm going to do this by WBS level. So I'm going to set this to a level 2 and 3. And that's going to set the summarization level for that summary graphic in the Gantt chart. So this should look familiar. Up at the top, we have our project description, the scenario we're looking at. Our schedule quality index is going to be at the top, any of the red or yellow metrics. And the second or third section here is that summary graphic that we just set up based on the WBS levels. So from here, I can see the historical critical path through my schedule at a summary level. I can see the delays that are occurring here with the candy cane stripes. I can see my critical path moving forward through the finishes. And then after that, we have our delay table and we have our audit log of critical changes made in the latest update. But one of the things our customers have been asking for is, can I just get this summary graphic on its own? All the other information is great, but I would really just like to have this as a handout. And yeah, we've added that now. And so what you can do is I'll close this. And next to the Pink report in the reports tab is that summary schedule generation module. So I'll click on view summary schedule. I'm going to select my paper size. I'll choose tabloid here. And once again, I could sort by activity codes if I had a nice structure built out, but in this case, I'm just going to stick with my WBS structure, and I'll do a level 2 and 3 again, and I'll print this report. And SmartPM is going to give me that summary graphic, but just on its own. It's its own PDF now, and I can print this out and hand it out to whoever I need to and have discussions over the schedule at a higher level. You're not having to sift through pages and pages of a PDF or sit there and throw P6 or Microsoft Project up on the screen. You can have this nice summary graphic to talk through, and it's a welcome addition, I think, for a lot of our customers for discussion purposes. The next feature we'll touch on is the historical weather modeling that has been built into SmartPM. I'll scroll up and let's head over to our weather tab. The weather tab in SmartPM is tied directly into the NOAA weather database. So SmartPM is continuously updating itself with the new weather metrics that are coming in from every NOAA weather station on the planet. As you guys know, based on your zip code, you're able to select weather stations in and around that zip code. SmartPM is going to sort them by proximity. So in this case, the Atlanta Peachtree Airport is closest to the Dunwoody, Georgia zip code, which is where our home offices are located. I'll close this screen. We all know that the actual weather data is now populated here for us to use and export to Excel. So this is the actual weather that has been occurring to date on our project. What has been requested is, can I get a historical comparison? So yeah, that's great. We know when the high temperatures were, when it rained, well, we're here in Atlanta, but maybe some of our northern customers, when it snowed. It's great to know, but I need to know a basis of comparison for that. So we've added a historical weather request button for you to utilize as you would like. So I'll click this historical weather button, and it's going to bring up a request form. So I'm going to say, based on 10-year averages, let's call a weather day anytime it dropped below 10 degrees Fahrenheit, anytime the temperature got above 110, anytime it rained over 1/10 of an inch of rain, anytime the average wind speed was over 20 miles an hour. You have a box here for additional comments. You can utilize this if you would like any other requests For instance, we have the full suite of data from every weather station. If you'd like to request that full data dump, you can do that. Or some of our West Coast customers have been requesting air quality reports, so you can add that in there. I'm going to punt on that for right now, and I'll click the send request button. And I've successfully submitted my request. You can just sit back and relax as the SmartPM team puts that model together for you, and we'll get it out to you via email as soon as possible. So as an example, here's the type of file you'll get. I'll open up this Excel. We'll be able to see the weather station from which we're drawing from, the thresholds that we set as what constitutes as a weather day. The next tab over will provide you with that model. So based on the 10-year average that you requested, say the average June had 5 days of rain. We'll then provide you with all the actuals on your job and give you a comparison of the actuals versus that planned model. So I can see here in June 2019, there were 7 days of rain. I was supposed to expect 5. That's a delta of 2. So a very quick way for you to understand the impact of weather month to month on your project. Now that's baked into SmartPM, and you're able to request that as necessary. The last feature we'll go over today is the new in-product video tutorial videos. So I'll go click on the resources tab here on the company dashboard and navigate to the show/hide tutorials option. I'll click it and my screen will then populate with info buttons. I can click on any of these info buttons to access short videos that will help me learn how to, say, add schedule updates to my project. I can learn how to understand what schedule quality is within SmartPM. I can learn how delay and recovery and end date variance is calculated in SmartPM. All of this is accessible from the dashboard to quickly help you get or any of your users get up to speed on how SmartPM works. I also do want to take a moment to promote SmartPM's YouTube page. Search for SmartPM Technologies under YouTube and get access to all of our historical webinars. So all of the webinars, including this one that will be posted. Full SmartPM walkthroughs, so full walkthroughs of certain features within SmartPM, including some of the ones that we just went through today. Those quick tips that are embedded within the product itself, you can access those here and watch them all in a playlist. Or if you want to see some nice things being said about the software, you can go to the marketing and testimonial section. All that's here in our YouTube page, and new videos are being added every day. So I want to thank you for sitting through this feature update. I hope you find these features useful, and please reach out to us with any more questions, and we're more than happy to help. Beautiful. I'm going to submit that to the Emmy Bureau and see if I can't get an award for that.
Good work, Billy.
Yeah.
We did have a couple of questions come in as we kind of went through all those features, so I think we can maybe address that for the larger group here. I think some of them were maybe addressed separately, but the first one that came in was around Power BI, so exporting to Power BI. SmartPM doesn't export to Power BI, but it has an open API that many of our customers have been using to either tie into Power BI or Domo or Tableau to populate their own dashboards and pull specific metrics out of SmartPM. So if you are interested in the API capabilities that we have, we'd love to set up a separate call and connect your IT department with our CTO to get that set up. Another question came in, I think, around temperature or wind speed thresholds within a given hour range, and unfortunately we're not able to provide that. We're beholden to really the detail that NOAA provides, which in a lot of cases does not include even wind speed. So depending on the location that you're looking at, we can provide the data that's available, but I do not believe it includes hourly reports. Another question that was asked was, can you add any notes when you're flagging in those changes that Billy walked through? Can you add notes to it? Currently, we do not have that capability, but that is a great suggestion to add in a note similar to what you would be doing when you're, developing a scenario or scenario condition, giving it a good description and leaving that breadcrumb trail. So, when you're toggling between what you flagged, I could see where having a note would be good as you're analyzing the data. So
yeah, and as
I
a
appreciate
workaround,
those questions too. Go ahead, Bill.
as a workaround to the note, I would suggest maybe dropping into the scenario description that you create, maybe why you were reverting or rejecting something. Cool. All right. Well, John, do you have anything else?
No, I would just say, we'll record this again. It is recorded, so we'll publish this out on our site, on that YouTube channel that Billy brought up, and we'll probably forward a link around to everyone as well who attended or signed up or who didn't attend, just so that you have that link directly in your email if you want to go to it, so that you can review any of the materials that we covered. I know we went through a lot of this fairly quickly, within an hour. And if you do have questions on how to work through any of these or any of the workflows that Billy covered, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to set up some time and walk you through any of those that we covered today. And again, you can always review some of the prior features and the prior lunch and learn that we conducted back in July. So those had some great instructional videos as well. And then the last thing I'm just going to plug in there too is actually two things I'll plug in at the end here. One is the in-product tutorials that I think the screen's set on right now. We're constantly building out new in-product tutorials. So, if there's something there that you see, that you want to have a refresher on that we don't have, please send us in the resources a recommendation to include a video or a tutorial on that specific metric, or maybe whatever it may be. But let us know so that we can develop those in product tutorials and populate it in the resources tab. And then the other thing I'm going to plug again one more time is Monday we'll be sending out an email to everyone, inviting everyone to our LinkedIn community space page. Again, that'll be a great resource for users to kind of come together and share ideas, share thoughts, maybe share how they're using the tool to analyze the data, ask questions. Maybe other users have experienced ways of solving problems easier than others. So it's a great way to share resources, ideas, thoughts, and insights on how to use SmartPM, and we'll be monitoring that and jumping in and answering questions. And it's a great way for us to get your feedback too. So that's my last plug of the day.
Awesome. Yeah, that's all I have. And thanks everybody for joining, and looking forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks everyone. Until next time.